case, we got him at back down to 6. Out there. Continue out there. 224 hours going out there.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is time to get it on. And folks, I tell you what, fundamental changes, where have we heard that before? Well, shit has hit the fan, folks, and that's exactly what they want to do. They want to make some fundamental changes, some basic changes. Well, we got a lot to talk about, folks. The week is still young. The week is young, and they're not done. They're not finished. The left, these political leftists, they're not quitting. This is the end game for our republic as far as they are concerned. And in order to do that, they need to tear down what we have. And they're tearing the whole system down, folks. If you don't see it, if you don't feel it from your balls all the way into your bones, I don't know what to tell you, because they're not hiding anymore. You know, Jen Psaki, this is the quote for the day, is saying the quiet part out loud. Everything they're doing now is out loud, folks. And she says, Biden, says Jen Psaki, Raggedy Ann, White House press secretary to the whole world, Biden wants to make fundamental change to our economy, and he feels coming out of the pandemic is the time to do that. Oh, really? Right? I guess we're going to go with the never let a crisis go to waste, you know, the good old quote from Rahm Emanuel. Another extreme socialist left-winger. This is what we can expect, folks. They're going to continue to change our economy, the laws, our social structure, education, the military, and they feel that using the cerveza bug-demic as the perfect time while everyone's shell-shocked and screwed up and butthurt and everything else. Right? All we get is a bunch of trash talk. And I get a lot of trash talk, folks, on a day-to-day basis, some more than others. But we're getting trash talk out of the White House. And now, incredibly, Beto O'Rourke, Beto, the Democrat presidential candidate, I can't remember, does he even have a cabinet position? Anyways, he says this. Here's a quote from Trash Talk and Tough Guy on the left. He says, quote, if you want to debate or argue or fight or fuck with me on politics, I'll take it all day long. And I bet Beto O'Rourke would take it long all day, because he's that kind of guy. Who do these people think they are, folks? Unbelievable. They think they're smarter and better than the rest of us. They think they own us. This is an unbelievable set of circumstances we are now dealing with in this country, where they think they can make fundamental changes, where a mandate from the White House that's not really a mandate, it's not a law, no one voted on it, there's nothing signed, it's not an executive order, it wasn't debated publicly, it hasn't been tested legally, but somehow there's magically a mandate that we all have to follow. Unbelievable, folks. You see if I can give you a big flavor of that, the shit that they're feeding us. Here we are. It's right here in black and white. It's continuing to be a large news story. The mandate that doesn't really exist, the mirage mandate, right? People are panicking because they're losing their jobs, they're losing their businesses because of this mandate. But 100%fedup.com, 100% Fed Up reports that there's one problem with this mandate. It's a press release. That's it. And now it's being weighed in on by none other than Representative Marge Taylor Greene, whom I affectionately refer to as Big Marge. Right? She tweeted about this scam, called Biden a dictator, and reminded everyone there is no federal law mandating that anybody get a vaccine. She wrote, "We never voted on it because it does not exist. There's no OSHA rule that allows for companies to be fined for not doing what Biden says." This is incredible, folks. What is going on? There is a giant sham and everybody is being punished. This is the fundamental change I think that they want everyone to accept, and that is that the White House can do what it wants, say what it wants, and businesses will just obey. There doesn't even have to be a real law. They just have to say, this is how it is. And companies now, corporations, will come out and punish people, fire people, deny them services, deny doing business with people. This is cooperation between corporations and government. And it's not legitimate government, folks. It is an edict. It is a royal command from the fake White House. And when I say the fake White House, folks, I'm talking about the fact that Biden does his press conferences from a movie set that is designed to look like it's at the White House. Why isn't he really in the White House? Literally, why isn't he in the White House? I think it's a fair question. Why is the so-called president not in the real White House? Why are they meeting on a soundstage? It's not being hidden anymore. It's being openly discussed. I'm needing answers, folks. I'm needing answers, hopefully in the question section, because I got the first 30 minutes. You guys have got the bottom half of the hour. Maybe someone here has some more information, folks. I do know that these people are completely lost. On the side of intelligence, they're just fucking lost. I also know that they're perverted and sick. Now, there's been a lot of news over the last day over Dominion and their voting machines, and how the CEO, the big shot there, Eric Coomer, basically said you're retarded if you vote for Trump and fuck the Republicans. And not only that, he has a tattoo on his arm by an artist, basically promoted by the Church of Satan. Right? This guy's listed number one. The number one tattoo artist for the Church of Satan is putting tattoos on Eric Coomer's arm. And Eric Coomer is Dominion Voting Machines. And Dominion Voting Machines has been, shall we say, at the forefront of a lot of really important questions since November 4th of 2020. Folks, these people know who they are, they know what they are, they know what they're doing, and they know who it benefits. They're all playing on that team, folks. They're playing on the team that is adversarial to all that is holy, free, and natural. And this is really what it's going to come down to. This is what it's going to come down to, a battle of will before it becomes a battle of bullets. See, politicians, folks, know that the mainstream media can influence, right? And the Democrats know that the mainstream media is always on their side. So instead of hiding it, they're now coming out right in our faces. And Pelosi, 90 Proof Nancy, jumps up and says today in front of God and the world, says, I think you all could do a better job of selling, referring to Biden's $3.5 trillion spending bill. Pelosi is basically blaming the media for not selling it. Who are they going to sell it to? The 500,000 total, folks, mainstream media. Maybe they can get 500,000 people to watch their show. Is that going to sell? Is that going to convince all the politicians? I mean, really, why do they need the mainstream media to sell it? Well, it comes down to blame game, folks. They're incomprehensibly stupid. They're running like a herd of cats. They're running all to the left, but they're running to the left in different ways. And they're fighting each other and they're tearing each other apart. It is incredible, folks. Everything that they're doing is tearing the country down, tearing it apart, destroying it. Where do we go? Where do we go, folks? In Texas, we had an awesome bit of news happen, right? Governor Abbott of Texas has banned any entity in Texas from creating, enforcing, or using a vaccine mandate. Well, that's great. I love it. But right off the bat, Southwest Airlines, which is headquartered, I believe, out of Dallas, Texas, it has refused and says, no, we have government contracts. And so we have to work with what the federal government says. Incredible, folks. There is no mandate. There is no law that the federal government has put forward to mandate anything. It has been a press release. But in Texas, the governor actually has, right, actual law on his side. But Southwest is going to refuse to comply with the law, which means I think they ought to be taken to court and they ought to be sued and forced to obey. And if they want to cite the federal mandate, where is it? Show us the executive order. Show us the law. Show us anything that the government mandates, right? You can't use a press conference, a video conference, and say, there it is. There is no mandate. But folks, we're seeing the fight. We're seeing the fight between free states and between the U.S. D.C. corporate government. It is coming, folks. Shit has hit the fan and it's getting nasty. Now, I've got a couple topics I want to get to you guys about, and it's very difficult. I have to be very careful what I say and how I say it. And I have gotten in the last week, folks, some of the most horrific stories coming from the families of preppers. No prepper that I know of has suffered what I'm going to talk about, but the families of preppers are now suffering and being injured, becoming ill. And I got two today alone, injured, ill, or dead. And I want to you're going to understand what I'm talking about here in a second. Folks, there's a lot of rumors over a Delta Airlines pilot who may have died in flight. In flight, he died after receiving his second slurp of Kool-Aid. That's right. This is a rumor and it's persisting. Delta Airlines, are they going to address it, or are they going to say, hey, we don't need to address that? It was just a silly rumor. It's starting to get very nasty, folks, when we, just little teeny preppers, way out on a little teeny ledge, a corner, we're 3% of the population, 3% of the overall population preppers, right? And we're starting to see it affecting families we know. Like I said, family members are getting ill, they're becoming injured, and at worst, they're dying. This is a personal letter I got from a prepper. And he says, I would like to share a story. And what he said is that this has been the hardest week of his life. He said he received a call. His mom had reportedly collapsed at her home and had no heartbeat. And within minutes of the paramedics arriving, she stopped breathing. After hours at the hospital, with no word, right, they finally got word that she suffered sudden cardiac arrest. And he says there was nothing wrong with her heart, no blockages, and it wasn't a heart attack. They said it was like the signals were not making it from her brain to the heart, and she was in defib, right? They said there was too much swelling in her brain and she wasn't survivable, right? They worked on her and they ended up letting her go. This prepper's mom passed away. She was only 56. She survived cerveza bug, folks. And she fought through that just fine. But she decided, even against her son's protestations, to go get the Jim Jones juice, even though she had already, developed immunity, natural immunity. And so he asked the doctor, was it the Jim Jones juice that caused these problems, caused her heart to stop, caused her brain to swell, caused these medical issues? And his response was, we just don't know, right? She got two big slurps, folks, 2 slurps of Jim Jones juice. He says he begged her, but his mom wouldn't listen. And he says, I guess it speaks to the true power of the government and the media, their ability to spread fear. Folks, this is happening. I had another friend let me know today that their daughter is feeling ill just from being around other people. Again, we've known about this for several months, but it's happening and it's becoming more and more prevalent. I got another message from another prepper that a very close associate is over in the Ukraine with his family, and over there they decided that they would get some Kool-Aid, and now they're all sick, hospitalized, and fucked up. How many times, folks, do we have to hear these stories? How many more folks need to be really, really close to us? And I'm not going to play this game with, some people get the placebo, they get the saline solution. I'm not taking that chance. I'm not going to play their game, folks. There's no fucking way. There's way too many people going down, way too many people getting sick, meaning, well, they get it anyways. They get cerveza bug regardless of the Jim Jones juice. So why bother taking it if you're going to get it anyways? Or they suffer an injury. They get hospitalized. Or they end up just fucking dying. It's crazy. And I've got a story here about, now we've been mentioning colleges and people, doctors, physicians being removed. Today, a nurse, a UCLA, now UCLA Medical Center is huge. A nurse was escorted from the hospital by security. She is fighting, folks, for freedom, she says. She went from an essential hero to enemy zero. She's not worth anything to the hospital anymore, but we were told, remember how nurses and doctors are heroes and they're essential? So essential hero is now enemy and a zero. Now here's the deal, folks. The fight has always been about freedom. From the moment they locked us down, to the moment they extended that, to the moment they demanded masks and social distancing. It's always been about freedom. But most had no clue this was about freedom. They thought it was about cerveza bug. They really did, folks. They thought it was about cerveza bug. It's never been about cerveza bug. It's always been about freedom, your individual rights, your individual liberties. We said when Trump was running for president in 2016, I said, where's the discussions about liberty and freedom? Free speech, the Second Amendment. Where is the discussions about freedom and liberty? Well, by the time we got to the end of his term, that was all he was talking about. And now, folks, the rest of the world is starting to realize that it's medical freedom, and medical freedom is the same as any other freedom. It's about our lives, being able to live them the way we see fit, not the way Dr. Fauci would say it, right? What does he say? How did he say it? Right? Let's just listen to him. Let's just listen to what the little guy has to say.
And not just to think about, well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No, screw your freedom.
There comes a time when you do have to give up what you consider your individual right of making your own decision. There comes a time when you do have to give up what you consider your individual right of making your own decision. It's vaccination or disciplinary action.
There comes a time when you have to give up. Really, I don't remember reading that in any history book, any philosophy book, any law book. No, never heard that before. He says it, and boy, that's just the way it's going to be. There comes a time. How about there comes a time when the people say, fuck you? How about there comes a time when the people rise up and say, that's it, Washington, D.C., you no longer have any authority over us? There comes a time when the states say, fuck you, and we're done. Is that the time that's coming? Because that time will come long before I say there comes a time when I'm just going to give up my rights. I don't think so. Unbelievable, folks. It's always been about freedom. It's always been about freedom. And get this, folks. You want to talk about tyranny? You want to talk about corrupt government? Right? The Biden Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation are now arresting folks, anyone they can find, who was within, I don't know, 100 yards of the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. That's right. They're continuing, folks, to arrest people who didn't even go inside the Capitol, who didn't supposedly trespass. What they're claiming is, well, you were part of it now. So 8 months later, 9 months later, they're now arresting and looking for more people, folks. They're going to arrest any of the tens of thousands of Trump supporters. What is this all about? What is the point of this? Trespassing is a misdemeanor, but they're going to use federal power and go to all 50 states and Puerto Rico, I suppose. What is this telling you, folks? You better not ever try and stand up for your rights. Right? Don't do it. Right? Don't come to Washington. Don't redress the government, for your grievances. That's essentially what they're saying. We don't want to hear from you. We don't want you anywhere near. Look what we're doing to everyone who's come by, right, to try and give us their opinion. This is what they're doing, folks. This is what they're about, right? Unbelievable. Okay, and I want to remind you all that a retired Army Green Beret, who is also a congressional candidate, was approached by the Federal Bureau of Investigation to be basically a stooge, an agent provocateur, an informant, right? And he refused, and he recorded them and he released it to the public because the FBI has been lying to the public and lying to the public and lying to the public. The FBI has been lying to the public since the 2016 election, folks, starting with James Comey lying and not doing his job. What they're wanting to do is intimidate and scare Americans, folks. That is their gig. Intimidate and scare Americans. And they're not going to quit, folks. They're going to continue to arrest. How about if they start arresting people who are related to people who have been arrested? How about if they start arresting people who are friends with, co-workers of people who were there on January 6th? Does that sound like that makes any more sense? They're just going to arrest whoever they want. Whoever they want to intimidate and scare Americans into obedience. This is, folks, making Nazi Germany, starting to make them look like amateurs. It's coming, folks. Are you prepared? That is a misapplication of law. It is a miscarriage of justice. And are you prepared? Are you prepared when it comes to your state, when it comes to your city, when it's right outside your windows and your doors? Are you going to be prepared? Do you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense? Do you have a plan to deal with this stuff, folks? And we know how the governments operate. We know what's going on, right? And if you want to look where America is going, look at Australia, where they are arresting people. The police are just going into people's homes. They're making demands of everybody, right? You will stay locked up. You will not come out. You can only come outside for 1 hour. The whole country's locked down. What? Meanwhile, it's come out that Gladys Berejiklian, right, Australia's premier from one of their states, it appears that she was blackmailed by Big Pharma. Big Pharmacy blackmailed to impose her mandates. And now she's been exposed for her corruption. Do you think we don't have the same corrupt powers here in the United States of America? Do you think the military-industrial complex is innocent in all this? Do you think the medical-industrial complex is innocent in all this? They're fully vested, folks. They're fully vested in what is happening. Additionally, right, they have exposed themselves. They are doing all of this. We know it. They know it. Everyone's aware of it. It's incredible to me, folks. They know what they're doing. They've done this intentionally. They've gone out on a limb. They're exposed, and they're going all the way. They're not going to quit. They want to destroy America, the Constitution, our freedoms, our liberties. They're dividing the country. They're demonizing those who oppose them, and they want us destroyed. This is where we're going. Are you prepared? That's going to become more and more clear as time passes, folks. That part of the discussion about dividing America, pointing at someone they consider their enemy, those that oppose their tyranny, and then they're going to try and destroy us. At some point, folks, it's going to get worse. At some point, there's going to be a knock on my door or your door. Someone you know. The same way we're now seeing people we know being directly affected negatively by the Jim Jones juice. They're going to get sick, or they're going to have injuries, or they're going to die from it. I have people I know, family members, friends that have taken this stuff. Not smart at all, folks. Not smart at all. Unbelievable. And I think I want to end on this little bit. You know, I grew up in the first 10 years of my life, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. South Bay, lived in San Jose, was born in Los Gatos. And I decided as a kid I liked the Oakland Raiders, right? And so always had kind of a spot in my heart and mind that said, you know what, be a rebel, right? They're Raiders. They're kind of a rebellious team. They're pirates. They're tough guys. They're intimidating. They're big. They're mean. Well, we had Chucky resign today. He was at the Raiders, and interestingly, he went to Tampa Bay Buccaneers, another type of pirate, won some Super Bowl action there, and then came back to the Raiders, who are no longer in Oakland, of course. But the Raiders had John Gruden as their coach, and he has resigned now because leaked emails show he called President Xi Biden a nervous, clueless pussy. Apparently, someone has wanted to get rid of him, right? He resigned. A nervous, clueless pussy. It's a big deal in the world of sports, folks. It's official. He's no longer the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Apparently, there's other emails, other comments he's made, John Gruden. He obtained, the New York Times got a bunch of emails showing John Gruden has made misogynistic and homophobic comments over the years. Let's see, John Gruden, coach, ex-coach, Super Bowl coach, excellent commentary, youngest coach ever. He lashed out at the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodall, and called him a faggot and a clueless anti-football pussy. So I guess that's homophobic to call someone a faggot, and I guess it's misogynistic to call him an anti-football pussy, because I guess pussies are on women, and since he's against anti-football pussies, he's against women. It's interesting. You can't even insult anyone anymore without being yourself being insulted by someone else. Anyways, he did. John Gruden criticized Barack Obama and Joe Biden. I guess that makes him a racist also. This is John Gruden, very famous. Essentially an ass kicker, not an ass kisser. Everyone else seems to be ass kissers. Now, he was confronted with a racist email he had sent in 2011. And he said he didn't have a blade of racism in him. It's interesting, folks. All you have to do is be white or be black and conservative, and you're a racist. But there's a lot going on in this, folks. I think Americans have had enough shit, and I think that they're wanting to use their free speech, and they're going to say things that are offensive, folks, like this. He said that John Gruden said that Goodall should not have pressured Jeff Fisher, and he was the head coach of the Rams. He should not have pressured Jeff Fisher to draft queers, in reference to Michael Sam, a gay player chosen by the team in 2014. Now, is that homophobic, or is that he didn't think he should have been pressured to draft someone just because they're gay? In other words, giving preferential treatment. Football, the NFL, is in big fucking trouble, folks. The league is apparently already investigating Gruden as a result of another email he wrote to Allen in 2011, in which he used racist terms to describe Smith, who is black. Interestingly, I'm not seeing what those racist terms are. And this was done at a time when Gruden was working for ESPN, and he criticized Smith's intelligence and used a racist trope to describe his face. I don't even know what that means. Tropes and it's funny though, folks, and this is what I wanted to bring out in this. Going all the way back to 2011, that's 10 years ago, a decade. For an entire decade, John Gruden has been using racist, homophobic, misogynistic terms referring to other men as women's sexual reproductive organs. And it's just now coming out, 10 years later. Why did it take 10 years for this white, heteronormative European male to be outed in a league that is full of left-wing lunatics? Left-wing, take a knee, turn your back on the flag, fuck America attitude out of the NFL. Why did it take 10 years for them to out John Gruden? Just a question, folks. I like to ask questions as much as share my opinion. Who did he piss off all of a sudden? Who did he piss off all of a sudden? If he's been taking on Goodall and insulting the president, why now? Of all times, folks, is this a distraction? Why now? We're going to find out, folks. I don't think this story is going to go away. I really don't. And, John Gruden, very famous, very popular, very fucking successful as a coach. Chucky, right? Mean little bastard. Anyways, I think we all need to keep our eyes open. Let's see what you want to think about or talk about, folks, because it is now time for the Q&A session. That is your questions, your comments. If you're part of Patreon, folks, Monday through Friday, you get to ask questions live every day. No additional anything. You just get your questions, Jolie, and she'll pop them up on the screen. So let's get to it.
Are you ready?
Well, here we are. We're back. Oh, yeah. Dominion voting machine. Their man, Eric Coomer, their big shot, says, fuck the USA. What a great guy. I think we should elect him to public office next. Anyways, we got Florida checks in, says, today is Project Veritas expose. The guy is saying that they're trying to get the to get the educated vaccinated. So what direction does that take things? I don't understand your question. Project Veritas is saying that they're trying to get the educated vaccinated. I don't know what you're asking. I know that we have some big problems in this country right now, and indeed problems around the world. People are getting more and more frustrated that real doctors and real scientists aren't being allowed to speak, period. They're realizing that their opinions matter because there are, folks, so many people opposed. So much so that hospitals are being shut down. So much so that an airline or several airlines are being hampered by it. That trucking is being hampered. I've gotten videos and I've gotten reports and I've gotten opinions on our ports, Port of Los Angeles, Port of Long Beach. I've gotten videos that have been taken by workers there going, look, there's no one here working, or there's just a few people here working. Not everybody can be sick. There's trucks and equipment not being used. Why? Right? It's crazy. Anyways, you know, the educated, there's it's educated or uneducated, doesn't matter. Famous or infamous or unknown people are speaking up. What's really interesting to me, though, is that people with fuck you money are starting to speak up. Now, during the American Revolutionary era, there was one guy who was the richest in America who had, basically had fuck you money. And he came down or sided with liberty and freedom. That was John Hancock. Right? People, doctors, nurses, and celebrities now, and I don't mean celebrity actors, but rather musicians, interestingly, are now singing about it. They're taking time in their concerts to start up, folks, fuck Joe Biden chants. And the fuck Joe Biden or let's go Braden or let's go Brandon, that is just going bonkers. It's going bonkers everywhere. Fuck Joe Biden is now global. In Rome, outside the U.S. embassy, as people drive by, they're shouting at the building, fuck Joe Biden. The world has had it with this bullshit, folks. They're waking up. People with fuck you money are putting their careers on the line. Aircraft pilots are saying, we're not buying it, we're not doing it, we're not taking it. It's a violation of the union contract. It's a violation of our rights. You're overstepping your bounds. There is no mandate. There is no law. And the fight is coming, folks. But the left is not going to quit. All right, we got Blue Cord Devil. And the statement he says, wife just said a young 25-year-old ER tech passed away last night. She had a 1-year-old baby. Yes, she had the Jim Jones juice. 25-year-old mother of a 1-year-old baby worked in the ER. Folks, I know medical people. I know medical people all over the country. And they're having problems with this. They're refusing to get it, folks. They're being forced to get it. They're being told they're going to be fired. There are very few loopholes to get in and around and through this. We've got David says, in this morning's video, you said you predict that by winter, our nation will be shut down. Do you think they will use the current narrative to enforce this, or will there be another crisis? My prediction, I didn't give odds, What are the odds? I just think it can happen, and it probably will, because the government can't back down. They can't quit. They can't back off. What happens if the government backs off? We're going to say, well, we thought it was a pandemic. We thought it was that bad. Now you're saying it's not that bad. Now you're saying it's over. All of a sudden, it's good. All of a sudden, there's nothing to worry about. They have been trying to maintain this death grip on the country. They need, folks, not just Cerveza-Bug. They need to shut the country down. They need to destroy the economy. They need to control people and scare them. And the only thing they have to do that is Cerveza-Bug. They need to demonize a sector of the population. That's the unvaccinated. They need to demonize them. There needs to be a pandemic so they can blame us for it. They need to claim there's a pandemic so they can keep the ports shut down, so they can keep trucking shut down, so they can keep a fuel crisis going, so they can keep a food crisis going. They're creating a food crisis right now, and they need to keep that going. So if they don't keep their narrative going, folks, it all just disappears and goes away, and we go back to something more along the lines of America, where people speak up freely, and then they go to the government and say, fix it, do it. The government doesn't want to fix it. They don't want to do it. They want to destroy everything and bring down America. So they're going to either have to persist with their lies, which is going to require more lies and bigger lies, and they're going to have to shut us down entirely, right? Food, fuel, energy, natural gas, all of that needs to be shut down. That's what the prediction is about, is they can't quit. If they keep going at the same rate they're going, we're fighting our way out of it. We're fighting free of it. Now Jen Psaki came out and said that, we need to fundamentally change the economy. What the fuck does that mean? That government needs to control the means of distribution and retail sales, because we basically have a retail economy. We don't have a manufacturing economy. We have a retail economy. So how do they fundamentally change that? Well, they've been changing the fuck out of it, right? More internet sales than ever. People shop by the internet. People shop at the big box stores more than ever. Why? Because mom and pop stores have been shut down and punished so much. They're going out of business. Same with restaurants. Even major chain restaurants, franchises are going out. We got a problem, folks, a big problem. But yeah, in order to make this continue, their narrative they're using is losing steam. It is weak. I think they're going to need another big event. We're going to need another variant that comes out. Right? We're going to need another mutation. We're going to need some sort of attack. Something is coming, something very big. They need fear also, folks. People, I think of all the things people fear in this country, I think the thing they fear most is government lying to us. That's what people, I think, are fearing, is government lying. People are fearing getting the Jim Jones juice. That's a big fear, right? I'm not getting it. I'm afraid of that shit. I'll tell you right now, I don't want it, because I've seen and read enough. Folks, videos from, and you can only get these on Patreon. You can only get these videos on Patreon. We can't put them on YouTube. Videos from around the world, doctors, different doctors from around the world, whether it's Eastern European countries, South American, even American doctors are saying there's something living inside. There's a living component inside the Jim Jones juice. Why? What is this thing, right? One doctor calls it the thing, famously after the 1981 John Carpenter movie, The Thing, right? This thing. Why would you inject something into your body that's alive? It's just not a good idea. Anyways, there's so much about this that's scaring the shit out of people. Well, it's scaring me. I'm not going to get it. Right? Like that young Marine, like the young Marine who said, you know what, I'd rather die. That'll be what happens before I take this shot. The military is starting to reject what's going on. Folks, everyone is. They're going to need a big, big event. Let's move on. We got Ray. He says, what do you think of the headlines would read if 15,000 deaths from the Jim Jones juice were caused by guns instead of the last 12 months? Okay, so what we've got here is we've got a story that came out and said 15,000 people have died from Jim Jones juice, from the Kool-Aid. 15,000 people have died because of Kool-Aid in the last year. If that was gun deaths, the media would be losing their fucking minds. they would say, oh my God, over 1,000 a month have died from guns. We have a crisis. We have a crisis as a country. We need to address the cause of this. But it's not guns, folks. It is the zombie juice. It is the Jim Jones juice. It is the tequila shot. It is the Kool-Aid of death. And has caused 15,000. Now, you take that number and then you go, wait a minute. We've been told that because it is so difficult to fill out these forms, that many places are not filling them out. They're not reporting deaths from Kool-Aid. They're not reporting the deaths. So we're looking at that number times 10. So instead of 15,000, it should probably read more like 150,000 have died as a result of Kool-Aid poisoning. Kool-Aid poisoning. That number is astro-fucking-nomical. But it seems to be more in line with how things really look to me in this world. Because I'm just one little guy in one little network, our network here. And I'm hearing about it on a daily basis. Family members that are getting ill because of the exposure to the Jim Jones juice. They're getting injuries. They're sick. They're having seizures. They're having heart troubles. Or they're just dying. On a daily basis, I'm hearing about it now, folks. What the hell does that tell you? Now, see, we'll just stick with their number, though, 15,000. How many people, well, that's just deaths. How many people are injured permanently? There's people ending up with palsy, stroke-like symptoms, swelling brain, fucked up lungs, pneumonia, inflamed heart, enlarged heart, all kinds of medical problems. And this is just starting, folks. And what are they doing? They're trying to give it down to children, down to 5 years old. How does that make a lick of sense? How does that make a lick of sense to do that to a 5-year-old? They want to do it. They want to give boosters to people, folks. Time to get your booster. You don't have enough Kool-Aid yet. You're not injured. Why don't you head back? Get some more of that stuff. We get Steve, USMC, no tolerance, Semper Fi. Steve, he says this: when I see that photo of Selma, Alabama, from the Fauci bumper I do, it takes me back. I was there in February 1965. It sucked and it hurt. I met King there a long time ago. Yeah, that little bumper piece over Schwarzenegger and Fauci's comments. And, you know, there's many other politicians, folks, that have made similar comments, but I don't think there's any that have made worse. That was put together by Mr. T, who's doing that excellent work for us, putting together bumpers and other promotional information, because it visually, those images speak to us. Right, I'm right here. I'm just a guy talking. But when you see those images of those riots and the way government treats people, it really drives things home. The party of segregation is the Democrats, folks. The party of slavery, right, was the Democrats. The party of internment camps, concentration camps that were here in the United States of America in World War II, that party was the Democrats. The party that opposed the civil rights movement was the Democrats. The Democrat Party was the Ku Klux Klan. Not the Republicans, folks. Not the Republicans. All right, we've got Audrey, who has this. From the San Juan Islands in Washington State. This is incredible. Ready for this, folks? We're down from 6 ferries a day to only 2 ferries a day after the engineers and mechanics walked away over the Jim Jones juice, over the mandates, folks. Lockdown never ended for us here. That's right, folks. There's a bunch of islands. There's an archipelago essentially in Washington State. We don't hear about it. It's not highly celebrated. San Juan Islands, that sounds like it's down in the Caribbean, does it not? No, it's a series of islands in Washington State. You know, plus there's Vancouver and a bunch of other islands. There's all this, but they rely on ferries to ferry people, vehicles, goods, like food, you know, through the islands. And because of these mandates, engineers, workers of all sorts are walking away. Engineers, mechanics, how about deck officers? Right, my older son is supposed to be going to work as a deck officer somewhere on this planet. I wonder if he is going to side with the communists or whether he is going to side with freedom and liberty and individual choice. Makes me wonder, right? But yeah, they're shutting things down, folks. Like I said, they're shutting down the country. They're shutting down transportation on the ground. They're shutting down fuel deliveries. They're shutting down food production, food manufacturing, food deliveries. They're shutting down our electricity, talking about how it's going to become less reliable, more expensive. They're shutting down the airlines even more, folks. You thought it was bad before? Now they're shutting it down even more because the pilots are like, nope, we're walking away. Everyone who walks away, though, folks, is going to be identified by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Justice. They could be made enemies of the state, saying they are the ones who are responsible for shutting down hospitals and the infrastructure and delivery, and that they're enemies of the state for not being compliant. Well, it's the government that's made them into this, folks. The government has demanded that they obey or what, right? It's interesting how tyranny can turn around and take someone who wants to be free and label them as a terrorist or a criminal because they refuse to be victimized by that same government. It's nothing new here, folks. This has happened before. It's going to continue to happen. It is absolutely awful what the Biden administration, what the Democrat Party, what big corporations are doing to their own people, to their own business, to this country in order to bring in the Great Reset, Klaus Schwab's vision of the New World Order. We got John Lord with a question. He says, so do you think mink jock straps are those swamp chickens for when? We have to read this one again. So do you put mink jock straps on those swamp chickens for wintertime? The answer is no. The swamp chickens will not get jock straps made of mink fur, synthetic or otherwise. Nope. Thank you very much, Mr. Lord. And thank you for the excellent information you've been sending me as of late. It is near impossible to stay caught up with you guys. But I'm going to do my very best to continue to read and research. It feels like 24/7, folks. Even though I've told you I need some time off, at least on Saturday, to get a break. But they don't want to give us a break. I think what the powerful elites on the left have realized is they need to keep us busy. Right? The narrative, as Uman has pointed out, needs to change every 72 hours. And I say, well, maybe it's 96. Right? We had to change from Hunter Biden to General Milley, and then from General Milley over to something else. And they're always changing it to keep us off balance. Right? So now they're bringing out Beto and other loser politicians to try and distract us with more. You know, in fact, I had someone send me a text and go, do you think that this whole Chucky thing is a distraction? I think it's all a distraction, or at least it's being used that way. We got Lone Star Preps checks in, and he says this: what do you think will or should be done about the 60,000 plus migrant caravan heading to the southern border? Okay, there's a big difference between what will happen and what I think should happen. Let's start with what I think should happen. What I would do if I were the president. I would send the army out of Fort Hood to the border and I would man the border. I would have drones flying east and west along the border, and there would be a military response, because these border runners, these bad guys, have essentially told us, America, that they are engaged in a war with us. Okay, then we'll take you at your word. This is a military invasion by a quasi-civilian NGO, non-government organization, backed, funded, and executed system. I would stop. That's what should be done, is the military should be used to protect our country from invasion. What will be done? The Biden administration will welcome them with open arms. That's what I think is going to happen, folks. The month of October here, it's been predicted there's going to be 400,000 or more. 400,000, not 60,000, 400,000 or more migrants that come across the border into our country. Are they educated? Are they doctors? Are they engineers? Are they construction workers? Are they smart people? Are they qualified people? Are they hard workers? Or are these people coming here with nothing but the clothes on their back and their ability to stick their hand out and have someone put US dollars in their hand that you will pay the debt on? Unbelievable. So that's it, Lone Star. And folks, Lone Star, the Lone Star state is Texas. The Lone Star state is Texas. And Texas, Florida, other free states, I think they need to do more. I'm glad to hear and see that Governor Abbott has brought in this, there'll be no mandates, the same way DeSantis in Florida has done, and that Texas has gone and they are revamping their election system, their voting system. Remember how all of those Democrat state representatives left the state in order to confound the legislature's ability to do its job with regard to election reform? Texas is doing an awful lot, folks, to fight back. God bless Texas, and God bless all you Texicans. We got two owls with a statement, and she says, Biden can't go to the White House because the ghosts of the real presidents would poltergeist the shit out of him. Let's go, Brandon. Oh my God. I went back and reviewed today for shits and giggles. Went back and reviewed the Brandon, the race car driver, that interview he did where the crowd was chanting, fuck Joe Biden. And the interviewee, the corporate mouthpiece, said, oh, listen to the crowd. They're supporting you. Let's go, Brandon. Yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, why? I wish, folks, that the ghosts of dead presidents haunt the White House and would go after someone like Biden and Kamala Harris, who are not Americans. They hate America, folks. They condemn America. They're destroying America. And I don't believe that anyone who is truly an American would do that. We got Fourth Dimension. That is Kaz in the Fourth Dimension channel. He's there. I want to mention Kaz at the Fourth Dimension, Vaughn at Backcountry Preps. How about Rudy at the Urban Aboriginal channel? Folks, there's a ton of channels out there. And you can find other channels that talk, show, review products, everything prepping from start to finish. And you can see all these channels. They're listing their websites at thersyndicate.com. But this is what Fourth Dimension Kaz has to say. He says, do you know of anyone who has gotten pregnant after receiving the Hokey Pokey tequila shot? My answer is I do not know anybody who has. I do know that women's menstrual cycles are kind of messed up. I do know that a lot of women have aborted after getting their Jim Jones juice. And it's, I don't know if anyone's gotten pregnant though. And I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know a lot of people that are in the market for making babies. I know a lot of people have said, I don't want to make babies at this time because the country is so jacked up. so screwed up. Things are so fucked up. People don't want to get pregnant. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. I wonder, folks, I wonder how many deformities there are going to be. That's what I'm wondering. How many deformities are going to come about because the Jim Jones juice affects our code, our individual internal code, DNA code. I wonder what's going to happen, folks. Will the press be able to keep that quiet the way they've kept all of the deaths and all of the injuries and all of the illnesses quiet? Will they be able to hide the deformities the same way they've hidden the fact that more people in the hospital have been jabbed and they're sick anyways, or more sick now, and there's more of them in the hospital than those who have not gotten jabbed? It's going to be one hell of a mess, folks. What I want to do is I want to invite you to continue in this discussion with me tomorrow. We'll be back. There's going to be more information. I went through 20 items of mine. We've gone through 20 items of yours, and we barely scratched the surface. And tomorrow, the 20 I went through will be completely wiped out and replaced with new news items and stories and things that are happening. Shit has hit the fan. You need food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You need a plan. You need to understand, right? Depending on where you're at in the country, some areas are better than others, but basically, you need a plan in case emergencies strike. Are you prepared? Semper Fi to you, and Godspeed.
Audio Jungle.